Welcome to the Swift Healthcare video podcast, exploring the intersection of healthcare and leadership, hosted by Dr. Patrick Swift. SwiftHealthcare.com is your resource for healthcare professionals to find coaching and consulting to engage, restore, and transform yourself and your organization. And now, here's your host, Dr. Patrick Swift.
Welcome to the Swift Healthcare podcast, exploring the intersection of healthcare and leadership. I am delighted to welcome to the show, Dennis Volpe. Dennis, welcome to the show.
Patrick, thanks so much for having me. I'm super excited for our conversation today.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate you being here. And folks, I'm so excited about Dennis being on the show. We have a tremendous guest, and let me tell you about him. Dennis's understanding of personal leadership comes from over 20 years of experience as a career naval officer, to include command at sea, including being a captain of a Navy warship. Dennis achieved his coaching certification through the Columbia University Executive Coaching Program and is also a Gallup Certified Strengths Coach and an International Coaching Federation Professional Certified Coach. And so Dennis is going to be on the show with us, and we're going to be talking about emotional intelligence in healthcare. And if there's one thing we need in healthcare right now, is emotional intelligence. So let's start with, what are the three ways you can look at emotional intelligence, sir?
Well, when we think about emotional intelligence, the most helpful thing for me in all of the research that I've done was Travis Bradberry's work. You know, Emotional Intelligence 2.0, when he broke it down into a quad chart for everybody. And it's self-awareness, self-management, social awareness, and relationship management. And when we look at emotional intelligence, self-awareness is the most important part. And, you know, how can you do that? How can you achieve greater self-awareness? Well, there's assessments out there, but there's also 360 assessments. So you can do self-assessments, which in my opinion, and I'd love to get your opinion, that just gives you intent. And then you have 360 assessments, which actually gives you your impact on other people. And finally, you can also work with a coach. So you can use self-assessments, you can use 360 assessments, and then you can wrap it all together, and you can work with a performance coach to help you understand what those assessments mean, and then develop an action plan to really develop your emotional intelligence and how you're impacting your environment.
I appreciate that. And to comment on that, I do agree with you. It's one thing to get an assessment about your own responses. It's another thing to do the assessment, but also have other folks fill out the assessment about you and give their feedback to you. It's called 360 for a reason. It's like getting your panorama of a picture. It's getting you the bigger picture. It's living in Technicolor. So, you know, Dennis, you have a great deal of personal leadership experience, including military experience, which I deeply appreciate and respect. I want to ask you, how has emotional intelligence helped you succeed in your career?
Yeah, when I think about emotional intelligence, I think there's three levels of awareness that we have to be aware of. And the military has absolutely helped me with that. And when we think about those three levels of awareness, it's that self-awareness piece, it's that social awareness piece, but it's also the situational awareness, the context in which you are operating and the context in which other people are operating. And how does that situation, how is that impacting you? And how is that impacting other people? Because how the situation impacts others and you may be different. And understanding the variables that are involved for you and for others, I think, is a key component to emotional intelligence.
I appreciate that. And I'm wondering, from your perspective and from your coaching experience, when you apply this to healthcare, from your take, how does emotional intelligence play into healthcare for both healthcare leaders and providers, team members?
Yeah, and I think from an EQ perspective, particularly in the healthcare space, is the self-management portion of it, because empathy is a huge part of emotional intelligence. And by nature, many healthcare providers are very empathetic. And at times that empathy, not only is it a superpower, but it could also be our kryptonite, because we make assumptions about the feelings of other people. And when we do that, we actually may be doing the wrong thing for them. And the cool part about being a military officer who has a background in operational planning and is now a coach, well, in military operational planning, when you have assumptions, the only way that you can move forward in planning is to validate those assumptions. And how do you validate assumptions? Is by asking questions and making sure that you truly understand someone else's reality before you provide solutions.
Well said. I'm curious, Dennis, for healthcare providers, healthcare leaders, what recommendations do you have for folks who maybe have not engaged a coach yet or not at that step yet, but how can someone develop their own emotional intelligence?
Well, I think the key piece is understanding yourself. And the best way to do that, or one of the best ways, is asking other people. You don't have to get an assessment. You don't have to get a 360 assessment. You can just have conversations with people who matter to you and who you trust to really get a perspective of how you're doing. And where do you want to focus on? Well, your regulation, your stress management, how you make decisions when emotions are involved, and really how you impact other people. And getting other people's perspective will really give you a very good understanding of your impact. And that's how we can really judge our emotional intelligence, is our impact on other people.
I love that because it also touches on humility to ask people for feedback, and people that you trust that aren't just going to blow smoke, but give you some feedback. And it's an opportunity to be able to start a conversation, whether that's a spouse or partner or coworker, opening up to how am I doing? What are your thoughts about this? I appreciate the way you frame that. And I hope folks take that advice and put it to action.
I think the key piece, and what I've seen over time being involved in healthcare, formerly way back in the day as an EMT, and then having family members who are paramedics, and getting the opportunity to interact with professionals like yourself, is the self-management piece. And when we think about empathy and how that impacts us, very often we forget about ourselves. And we're so worried about other people that we forget what we need. So the biggest thing I would recommend for healthcare professionals is pause, think about yourself and what you need, and how you can best manage yourself so you can positively impact your environment. And I always talk about it from a mind, body, tribe, and why perspective.
Ooh, tell us about that.
Mind, what are you doing for mindfulness? So that way you can have clarity and focus on what really matters. Body, physical wellness. How do you make sure that you have the function and mobility that you need, and the stamina to deal with the adversity and the challenges and everything that comes your way? Tribe, who's in your orbit? Who are you spending time with? Are you spending time with energizers? And if you are, awesome. If you're not, figure out how you can. And then finally, your purpose. How do you reconnect with your purpose on a regular basis, so that way you can have the mental toughness and grit that you need to keep doing what you're doing?
If folks are interested in following up with you or learning more about your work, please share with us how folks can learn more about you.
Absolutely. The best way to get in touch with me is through my website, transitiononpurpose.com.
All right. I'll be including that in the show notes. And I know that's the title of your book as well, Transition on Purpose. Hope folks check that out. So Dennis, thank you so much for being on the show. And thank you, sir, for your service.
Absolutely, Patrick. And thank you for what you're doing for the healthcare community.
I'm happy to do it. It's a labor of love.
Thank you for listening. Please subscribe, rate, or leave a review about the show on your favorite platform, and learn how to support the podcast as a patron at swifthealthcare.com, where you can also find the show notes and all of our episodes. Thanks for joining us.